Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Top Scottish Football Pod. Actually, David, you should be starting off this one, mate, because I don't think I have the energy.
Have you ever seen the Championship show? I try and do intros and I just stutter constantly, and Adam just pissed himself at how bad I am at it. So for everyone's sake, I think you should just do it.
Well, do you know what? Today is a bit tougher for me than usual. I'm surprised I'm no stuttering. I've already kind of introduced you there, David, but welcome to the show. Nice to see you again. And today we're joined by none other than the man himself, the man who's... Oh, look at that grin. Just look at that grin. We've got sharp.
Mate, I've just sobered up, so I'm sorry that... Well, I'm supposed to start filming it at 12:30. I've turned up at 10:01. Sorry, guys. That's all I can say.
No, mate, it's fine. It's understandable.
And you're normally bright and breezy too.
I know.
I'm usually, whenever anything's happening, I'm like, we'll do it at 9 or whatever.
I know. You usually drag me out my bed to record at like 9, 10 in the morning. I'm like, Christ, oh, mate, how does he have the energy for this? I mean, I can understand.
Like Green kicking a ball out and all that.
Exactly, mate. But it's perfectly understandable. The circumstances that we'll come on to speak about are plain to see if you are listening, and you're in for a good one today as we talk about what happened at the weekend. It wasn't that big, but we'll get on to it anyway. So we may as well just start exactly there. Rangers are champions. As I said,
I thought you were starting with Derek McInnes.
We'll start with Derek McInnes. What's the bigger news? What's the bigger news? Rangers champions, Derek McInnes sacked. I mean, both of them have took as long as each other, so who knows?
I know. Both of them were inevitable, though, Ryan, weren't they?
Yes, well, maybe. Maybe not at the start. This is where we'll come at the start of the season. We sat down and you were the first guest on this season, and we were doing our kind of season predictions and where things were going to go. And you were pretty confident that Rangers would go on to win the title. Me, on the other hand, was not. I was pretty set on my ways of seeing Celtic win 10 in a row. And now you sit here on the show before the split even comes round, and you have got it done. It's over the line after knowing that it was going to happen for quite a while. It's now finished. As the Rangers fan on, keep your feelings, mate.
Mate, I'm just glad it's done. I've seen some people saying, oh, they've liked to have won it at Parkhead and all that, but for me, it was just get it over the line as quick as possible. You know what I mean? Because obviously it's been so long since we last won our title, and it's an amazing feeling. But it was the inevitable. The writing was on the wall for a long time, so it was just about getting that point, that extra point, and Celtic, they done the job. They went up to Tannadice and they fluffed their lines, and obviously that gave us the title, but not taking anything away from Rangers. Obviously, it'd have been good for us to win a game in order to do that, but we kind of have done that, even though it was the Celtic Dundee United game that gave us the title, gave us 55, mate.
I almost had the feeling of it, and we'll come on to talk about the individual games, of course. We'll talk about Rangers and we'll talk about Celtic, both respectively, and their performances when we come on to reviewing the games. But that Celtic game did have the sort of feeling around it. See, when Leicester were relying on Chelsea, and then against Tottenham, and then Liverpool, the same thing. Yeah. Man City were playing Chelsea. It had that feeling around it. As time dragged on, it got even closer. Then the final whistle goes, and obviously very different emotions running through me and Div here, but David, I'll come to you, mate. I mean, you're looking for the outsides. You're not, of course, a Celtic or Rangers fan.
Contrary popular belief.
Oh, yes, exactly. All season, you've kind of watched on every step of the way. And the way that all ended is, Rangers deserved every bit of it, didn't they?
Well, you talked about our pre-season predictions. I predicted a helicopter Sunday kind of affair, so I think I was the most wrong out of everyone. Just in the context of how shite Celtic have been this season, a point at Tannadice wasn't the worst result, really. But obviously, just what happens after it probably made it a bit of a... I'm starting again! Fuck's sake!
Mate, I'm rusty setting myself.
The funniest thing of the weekend wasn't Rangers winning the title or Celtic losing it. It was Scott Brown saving a shot with his face. That was Scott Brown. Scott Brown. Fuck me. I've been in the drink too. Everyone knows.
I know. Hey, you hang over and off. You've been hiding it.
That's just straight vodka he's drinking.
That's a maths teacher used to have plastic bottles in class, and it was like a Mountain Dew bottle, and I was convinced it was vodka.
You've been playing too much Football Manager on that Rangers save.
I know, but Scott Bain saving a shot with his face was amazing. But yeah, inevitability. Fuck me. I mean, it's been over since October, really. Yeah. Well, I mean, I said that at the time. Like, I said if they don't sack Lennon in the next 2 weeks after which one was the bad one in Europe?
Sparta Prague, the first one.
Sparta Prague, maybe. That was done, and they never sacked him, and it was done. Yeah, and you look at the two contrasting performances that weekend. Rangers against St Mirren were just brilliant yet again. Hunger, desire, everything. Celtic just didn't really care, to be honest, so many of them. I know they created chances and stuff, but I mean, Ayer looked a bit pissed off at the end, but apart from that, it was just like they're all just so flat. And it was that performance a metaphor for the season, in that, you know, Turnbull looked okay at times, Edward looked okay at times, but they're just so poor. They're just out of shape. Well, not out of shape, but they're just not fit, some of them, and they just look tired, which is ridiculous because they've not been playing with much intensity. And, you know, you can't contrast that to Rangers on Saturday, who were phenomenal, I thought, for the 90 minutes in terms of how they played. And yeah, you're right. That was what I was thinking when I'm watching the game, was watching Liverpool win it last year when City got beat off Chelsea. It was the same feeling. And I don't know how Rangers are going to do midweek, because I think they're all going to be rough as fuck. But yeah,
that's what I was thinking, mate. It'll be a miracle if Rangers go earlier and they win that game. But knowing them and knowing this season, they'll be bouncing right back. Exactly. I seen a video after all the celebrations. The very next day, about 9 a.m, Kemar Roof on Instagram recording himself on the bike and Burna Barisic here doing exercise in the gym and all. So I think they're going to still be motivated to go out there and do the job. Whether they can or not, because they will be hanging, I don't know.
How was Kemar Roof's drawing that video?
Mate, he just had too much to drink.
Aye, exactly. Aye, it's sometimes the alcohol gets to you, you know.
His job is doing more swinging than Tommy Sheridan.
Do you know it's Tommy Sheridan's birthday on Sunday?
I know, what a day for it for him. What a sin. What a poor guy.
Poor fella.
But look, before we go on, we'll talk about Europe towards the end of the episode. We'll talk about the individual performances in a minute. There'll be a lot of Rangers fans clicking on this to see and hear the opinions of everybody in the call here, to see what we're saying towards the title win. Dev, I feel like it would be terrible for us not to go into great depth about, you know, the way that Rangers have came about this and how things have went on. I know you'll be wanting to say a lot, and that's expected. It's been a long time coming, as much as I don't want to. We sadly have to, as a show called Talk Scottish Football. Dev, Gerrard has been here now. This is his third season in charge. He's finally got his league title. The players have worked hard every single bit of the way. All of it has came together so nicely. I mean, your feelings towards this team, watching them grow, watching Gerrard grow as a manager, it must just be superb watching it culminate in that game on Sunday. I mean, talk us through the steps of the way as you got here, the feelings of watching it all happen, and then, of course, that final result there on Sunday.
Aye, well, I think to touch on Gerrard, obviously he did go through some hardships towards the end of last season as well. But some people were thinking, is this going to work? Is there a vision in place that's going to see Rangers return back to the top? And I think we've just seen this season that they were working towards that. And sometimes it does take time. And gladly for us, the manager and the board were in cohesion. They knew what they had to do. And going into this season, they just have been absolutely relentless. I mean, they're undefeated to this point. So they've won the league undefeated, you could say, up until this point. You know what I mean? And just looking at some of the players as well, they got a lot of criticism that were told that they weren't good enough for all different fans, like your James Tavernier, Connor Goldson. They two this season have been absolutely incredible. And obviously the full team is, but they two in particular have been players that have come under immense criticism, and they're probably top two at the moment for Player of the Year. I know David absolutely loves Stephen Davis, and he will be there or thereabouts. He's been absolutely class himself. But I think the good thing for Marcel and Orion is that I think that there's more to come. If you look at the front three of Rangers, I think they could have done even better this year. Yes, they've been really good, but Ryan Kent's still young, Yanis Hadji's still young, and if we can keep on to these players and Alfredo Morelos, there's still a lot more to come for him. Yep. I think the strategy that the management team put in place is worked an absolute dream, and we're seeing that, and we're seeing it in Europe as well. I think consistency is maybe something that the team lacked in the last couple of seasons. This year, they've had it in abundance. One defeat, obviously, in the League Cup, but even in Europe, mate, they've been phenomenal, and they deserve everything that they've got so far this season. So the hats off to them. It's absolutely class. You've seen the outpour of emotion for the Rangers fans who have waited so long for this moment to come back. A generation of fans that have never experienced this.
Exactly, mate. Exactly.
Which is mad to me. Obviously, I was young. I think I was maybe 13 the last time Rangers won the league. But there's a generation of fans that just never knew Rangers to do that. So I'm happy for them. I'm happy for the older generation, to the Rangers fans and ex-players and such that have passed on, like Fernando Rickson, Sandy Jardine and more. Just everything that's kind of encompassed this 55 has just been absolute class for us, you know what I mean? So I done it for all aim and that.
I know, it's mad. I was 11-year-old the last time Rangers won the league. You wouldn't even think that it's happened in my lifetime. It's been that long, but there you go. It finally comes. David,
A few tough paper rounds on this call.
fuck off you.
Listen, I'm a
worst of
Danu,
them all.
so
I know,
I've got
exactly.
an excuse,
A
mate.
Rangers da. Christ, you should
Rangers
be
da,
fucking slagging off Tavernier now.
Aye, exactly. You should be joined in the slander. No, it's one of those ones all season. I've ate my words, haven't I, at the start of the year. How time has changed. From that moment I sat down and says, "Oh, maybe Barisic." That was the famous words. They still get thrown my way every time they've went on to show how good a team they are this season. And look, it's for as bad as Celtic's been and the lack of fight that Celtic have put up, there's no way, and I've said it time and time again on my own channel and on here, there's no way I could sit back and take anything away from what Rangers have done this season. In my eyes, this is a team, and I hate to say it, and I know Celtic fans don't like me saying it, but I hate to say it, this is a Rangers team who could easily go on to finish this season invincible. I don't see anybody at the moment being able to stop them, and that includes Celtic. It's going to take one hell of a fight at Parkhead. There's a question for you, David. Would you rather won at Parkhead? You disappointed that never happened?
No, as I said, mate, I wasn't bothered, to be honest. Obviously, I think the Celtic fans have had enough. Do you know what I mean? So we've done a number on them in that respect. Enough. Do you know what I mean? That maybe would have been the icing on the cake with Morelos scoring a goal or whatever. But it was all about winning that league. It was just all about getting over the line, and they've done that. So, and the quicker the better for me, because it's obviously more impressive. To touch on maybe being invincible, yes, it would be absolutely brilliant. And the lead up to about the 30th game, I was saying if you get to the 30th game still unbeaten, there's a real chance you can go and do that. There's an even bigger chance now. But I think it's all up to that Rangers team. How much do they want to go for it? How much motivation have they still got? Knowing Steven Gerrard and the way he talks in that, I still think he'll want to go out and win every game.
Of course,
because that's the culture that he's reinstalled at Rangers, about being a winning club, having that winning mentality. So I think he will still want to go unbeaten. But obviously we've got the Europa League, we've got Prague on Thursday, we've got them back-to-back and stuff like that. So you never know. Maybe if we go far in that competition, there might be an eye on that, and the league's done. So then you start giving young boys a chance to give them a taster. I don't know, because the job's done at the end of the day. So yeah.
David, just to bring you into the conversation there, Div touched on it very nicely, and I'll let you go into whatever you want to say after this, but just to bring you in, Div touched on very nicely there, the kind of mentality Gerrard's brought back to Rangers of being a winning club. One of the main things that's been spoken about is that kind of setup at the club now. I've seen a tweet last night talking about how you could look at the biggest signing and being somebody like Michael Beale. The way he's came in and what he's done there, and then you look at Gary McAllister and you just look at Steven Gerrard, the winning mentality is there, and they've changed head to toe and the way things have run from a club who 3 years ago looked, no offence, Dave, but on and off the park, it looked like a club that was pretty, not so much the fans, but the club itself looked pretty contempt with the way that they were losing games and things weren't quite swaying in the direction that they should have been. For it to change so much under Gerrard, you've got to tip your hat off to him and his team for what they've done there.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I've said it constantly, even when he's taking criticism. If you look at his 3 seasons, there's been a constant progression in each one of the seasons. So he comes in his first year, starts winning some Old Firm games, which hadn't been done for ages before that. So, I mean, he's got a little bit of pride back there. They're starting to see the sort of the spine of that team starting to get built in the year after they go and have a really good go in Europe. You see that progression. Yes, it fell away a little bit towards the end, and obviously this season it's all come full circle. But the most important thing for Gerrard, for me, is you look back at some of his early post-match interviews and games, he was getting a little bit drawn into stuff, a little bit over-emotional. You look at the celebrations at Parkhead last season when they won, where, I think he said himself, he kind of over-celebrated that moment. He's kind of learning from these things. And you can see the progression in him as a manager as well as the team. And, it's kind of a bit of I think he's only just getting started. I know we've had this conversation so many times about, will he stay? I think he's here for the foreseeable. I think he's just getting started. Now that he's got a taste for it, he'll want more. And I think the way that they are set up on and off the pitch, they're set up perfectly for me for a good couple of years at the top. It's going to take something special from Celtic to turn themselves around from where they are now to challenge them next year for me. But yeah, I think Dev's point on the front three is a great one. I think Kent, Hadji, and Morelos all can do better than what they've done this year. I think Morelos right now and over the last month has played better than I've seen him play for Rangers. I think he's been phenomenal over the last month or so. And I think that's him starting to slowly understand he's sort of playing a little bit of a different role this season. And Kent as well. I mean, I think Kent, a lot of his best work happens out with goals and assists. Like we watched him on Saturday, and every time Rangers go forward, they're getting the ball to Ryan Kent straight away. What can he do? What can he make happen? Creating space for others and stuff. And they're only going to get better for me. And yeah, it's going to be an exciting time to be a Rangers fan. And if you're a Ryan Womanite, you might be a bit nervous for next season. Only final point I wanted to make is obviously the celebrations in the city on Saturday and Sunday. We spoke about it on Saturday. We're certainly not going to get in a high horse in this podcast because I guarantee that if either one of our teams would have done it, we'd have been out there partying as well. And all the political fallout's just fucking nonsense. So I'll leave that to one side. But you know what? Fair play to them. Fair play to them.
I thought you would have left that one on the side there. I didn't think you were going to bring it in, but fair enough.
Oh, because you can't not mention it, but I also can't be arsed with us getting on the high horse about fucking. You know, I mean, when Scotland qualified for the Euros, I was waiting to find out.
First question you asked me as soon as we finished recording the video that night is when I gone to George Square. That was the first thing you said. And I would look, same thing would happen if it won the 10-0. So it's celebrations. I take it, Div, you just wanted to live up every single minute of that there. It's one of the things. You stop with 10-0, you don't see it happen every day, I suppose.
That's it, mate. I mean, it's human emotion took over, didn't it? And obviously a minority of Rangers fans have went out and they've celebrated it. I went to Ibrox myself, so I've had my hands up. I've put it in social media. Obviously, tried to take as much precaution as possible, but at the end of the day, waited over a decade for something like this to happen, and we've been locked up in our houses. Fucking people say that football is just a game and all that, but it's way more than a game.
Oh no,
you're right. No matter what fan base and stuff like that this happened to. The human emotion would have took over. We've seen it with Liverpool. We've seen it with Leeds and stuff like that, and that's it. That's exactly what happened. We've seen it when Celtic were getting pumped all the time in November as well. So it all comes full circle nicely, doesn't it? I've seen a few sharks up at Ibrox and that.
I seen that. I seen there was a lot of sharks being thrown about. So I suppose you can only revel in it this season. Look, we'll come and touch on a bit more with Rangers when we get to the games, but they are the champions, of course. We'll wait and see what happens next year. We'll wait and see what happens next year.
See, be fair, Ryan, I will say to you, mate, you've took it well. Because
you can only make
you've took a lot of stick, and obviously that was your words, so obviously you need to, if you put yourself out there, you put yourself up for that criticism, but
exactly,
bounce back all right, mate.
Like the way I put it is, look, I may have took a hit this season, but I'm doing pretty well. Out of 5 years, I've got 4 out of 5 right. So you get one wrong. It was probably about time. And I can only take it with the chin.
If you come out at the start of next season, you start chanting the same Barisic things, then maybe I will start.
Maybe that point.
Coming down you a bit harder, but
aye. No, look, you deserve to enjoy it, I suppose. I mean, as painful as it is, and perhaps when I turn the camera off, I sound a bit different. But on the camera, he's deserved it, didn't he? I'm joking. Right, let's talk about Derek McInnes. Derek McInnes is gone. It's happened. 2 things, as we already said, that you never would have envisioned happening at the start of the season, perhaps. Both McInnes being gone and the Rangers winning the title. It would have been one or the other, you'd imagine. But here we are, both happening within the same week as well. Aberdeen released a statement, just to very quickly go over it. And then I'll, of course, bring you into the conversation. Aberdeen Football Club and manager Derek McInnes have agreed to part company after 8 years. The manager and his assistant, Tony Docherty, will leave at the club with immediate effect. Chairman Dave Cormack said during his time in charge, Derek raised the bar and delivered a level of consistency not seen at the club for many years, qualifying for Europe each season and delivering a memorable Scottish League Cup win at Celtic Park in 2014 with 43,000 Dons in attendance. David, it had to happen.
Yeah, it's been inevitable for a long time. Aberdeen fans just can't be asked anymore. I've said it so many times. Sometimes change, just a little bit of freshness is all you need as a player and a supporter. But the biggest thing was been his contract. 17 grand a week, apparently, he was on up there. And the biggest struggle for Aberdeen was they couldn't pay him off. So mutual termination suggests to me that they're not paying off his full contract. So how that's worked, we don't know. Yeah, I mean, Aberdeen could still finish third, which is mental to think they've parted company with the manager. The other mental thing is Steven Gerrard's the longest reigning manager in the Scottish Premiership, which is utterly bizarre. That's 6 managers now this season in the top flight that have gone. So it is absolutely crazy. You look at the names that are touted for this job. I think Stephen Glass is in at the favourite. He's Atlanta United's second coach, former Aberdeen player. That would make a lot of sense with their ties with Atlanta. Stephen Robinson, I suppose, is a logical choice in terms of progression from that job.
You're forgetting Neil Lennon here.
Neil Lennon will be nowhere near that job. I'm willing to put a good bit of money on that.
John Kennedy's a decent shout, and Oro if he could end up there. But I continue on with what you're saying.
Yeah, John Kennedy's another one who's an outside shot, but. Yeah, it seems to me like they're pretty set for the remainder of the season with the coaching team they've got there still. The statement seems to suggest that. So whether or not they'll wait till the summer, I don't know.
Well, just to quickly add, Dave Cormack did add in the statement, just to add a bit of depth to those listening, the board will start the search for new management team immediately, and there's a clear timetable in place in the meantime. We believe we have a robust interim solution for the rest of the season in the Scottish Cup, which is still to play for. So as you said, David, it kind of does allude to the fact that they will probably stick with this team until the end of the season. But Dev, we'll come at you here. You know, now it's just a matter of trying to hold on and get as far as they can in the Scottish Cup and probably try and go for third place. Will it be hard now with change, or do you think it will give them that kind of new manager bounce that you sometimes hear? I mean, Celtic have yet to experience that, I would suggest. Will Aberdeen be in the same sort of situation, do you think?
I don't know if it will, to be honest, because see, when you hear stuff coming out for the players, it's like Derek Mcinnes has got a lot of support. I don't think it's a Derek Mcinnes thing. I think time has just ran its course on this. If you look at it on paper, he's done a good job there. He's got a lot of respect within football. People always coming out and saying how good a coach he is and such. But I think within people out in football coming out and backing him, they have been a wee bit dismissive of the Aberdeen fans. And they're saying, obviously, they might not know what they've got until they've got it. But I think every fan base deserves to have a voice. And they've not been happy for a couple of years now. And you can say and you can make the argument that he probably should have done better. And I know that, they've been rinsed every couple of years. You look at Mackay Stevens and Adam Rooney, and every time Johnny Hayes and stuff like that, every time he kind of builds a team up, people come in and he take his players, and there's probably merit in that, but I still think that he maybe should have did a wee bit better. I know I might be being a bit harsh there, but I think that's maybe what the Aberdeen fans are thinking themselves. And I thought it was inevitable. We've been talking about this for a couple of years now, haven't we? Yeah. Even though it sounds weird, because when you look at Aberdeen for the years there before Mcinnes came in, they weren't nailed on third or fourth place. They were up and down, weren't they? And you look at Hibs and Hearts in the last so many years, that's been the way they've been. So he's done a really consistent job there under probably hard circumstances. But I think it was the right time. And it's all about who knew they get back in. It's all about who they get in it.
Yeah. I think the biggest frustration for Aberdeen fans is you talk about the success they've had. The amount of cup finals and cup semi-finals they've lost. I know it's a success getting there.
Yeah, that's what.
So many has been an annoyance. I think at times where they look.
We're getting a new manager, and you're perhaps getting someone who changes the game plan up, and somebody who can win those games. I mean, it's not easy, of course, when you're playing Celtic sides that are much better than you. But if you bring in somebody else, it kind of changes that hope a bit.
David, if you look at Davidson at St Johnstone, you were a big admirer of him at the start of the season. Tommy Wright, we would all be in agreement that he'd done a really good job at St Johnstone, but Davidson's come in, he's changed the style. It took time for them to get going, and he's got them the League Cup. So maybe that's something that the Aberdeen fans, they want as well.
Yeah, that's the biggest complaint from Aberdeen fans, how boring the football can be at times. And I do feel a little bit sorry for Mcinnes in that when I watched it at the start of the season, I thought, wow, they're actually playing some decent stuff. Hedges looked good, Scott Wright looked good, the boy Watkins up front looked decent. Then they go and lose him back down to his parent club. They go and lose the boy Edmondson to injury. Cosgrove comes back in and they have to play him. And once you've got Cosgrove up front, you're not playing nice football anymore. You don't really have much of a choice. And then, I think when he goes in the January window there, brings in Hornby, who, I was excited to see because obviously with the 21s, he does a decent job. He started dreadfully. Camberry, who's come in, looks okay, but again, can't find the goals. And who's the other striker they brought in? Oh, and the boy from Hendry from St Johnstone.
Yep.
It's just not quite clicked for them yet. And, I think McCrory's been injured for a long part as well, who started the season well. So there's been a lot of, unfortunate things for Mcinnes. But again, I've said it so many times, Aberdeen just wants something new. And 8 years is enough time in any job. It really is. I mean, there's not anything more Mcinnes can do than he hasn't already done now for him and for Aberdeen. And I think that, maybe it could go wrong. They could bring in somebody and they might finish fifth next year and might not get to anywhere near a cup. And then they're going, God, maybe we should have kept him. But again, as you say, Callum Davidson comes in who, I would actually argue that Callum Davidson taking over from Tommy Wright is a bigger and more difficult job than a manager coming in to replace Mcinnes, because St Johnstone were punching above their weight every season pretty much. Whereas Aberdeen, you would expect to be third or fourth.
They were delivering any expectations ahead of them.
Yeah, so, it should go well if they get the right appointment. But, I think Stephen Robinson would be a good appointment. I know Aberdeen fans aren't particularly excited about that just now based on what Motherwell did this season. But if you look at the circumstances of that and what he'd done prior.
Well, you've got to remember that whoever comes in to do this job are inheriting a really good team. This was an Aberdeen side that at the start of the season, I wasn't one of my daft rhyme 118 bold claims, but I think a lot of people were in agreement that the squad was perhaps looking like one of the best that McInnes had ever had at Aberdeen. For as much success he had in the past, the players that they've had, the players that recruited in the summer with the players they already had, you know, they were looking a really strong outfit. And they started that way. As you've already alluded to, David, they started the season really good. We were all looking at them and thinking, especially after that whole Pubgate scenario, they were looking really good. And we were all saying that we'd go on and do really well this season. Then it just didn't come to fruition.
They lost McKenna as well. We've not even mentioned
exactly,
that.
Lost Scott McKenna. So when this new manager comes in, like, you've got, whether they keep all these players or not is a different story, of course, but you look from back to front, it's a solid side. And that includes the signings that they've made over the past 2 windows. So whoever comes in, they've got an exciting job ahead of them, I think, because if they get them playing, they keep players there, it's certainly kind of sky's the limit for what their expectations are, of course. They're not going to go win the league title. They're not going to do anything daft. But they can go on and they can certainly improve.
The financial situation isn't great, and they will need to bring in some players in the summer, and also rely on not losing your Fergusons, you know, and the likes of that, boys like that. Hedges as well will be looked at. So, I mean, it's a bit of a rebuild to do, and also the worry is that the money isn't there just now. But again, I can see a lot of clubs in the same boat next summer, so you know it's kind of hard to look at how that'll go. But you've also got to remember Hearts are going to come up next year as well, and I know Hearts aren't exactly flying just now, but you know, they seem to want to spend a little bit of money just now. So if they go and invest in the summer and kick on, it's another team for Aberdeen to worry about.
Yep. I think it will be so important who they bring in. Obviously, that sounds like an obvious thing to say, but there has been a lot made about how much money Aberdeen have actually got. And a lot of the times when players who are good aspiring players like your Ross McCrory's and such, when they make that move to Aberdeen, it's not really about the money. It's more about going there to try and improve, play for a big club, and also to work under Derek McInnes, who, as I said, and I'll say again, is obviously very well thought of as a coach. So can they bring a guy in, or a woman? Shelley Kerr's I always champion Shelley Kerr.
Yeah, I'm talking about her on Saturday, actually.
I love Shelley Kerr. She's brilliant. But anyway, if they can bring somebody in that can start attracting these players still, then yeah, they might obviously still go in and do something. But what if they bring someone in that isn't, and all of a sudden your Ross McCrory's and stuff like that are going somewhere else? You know, so we'll see how it goes.
It's an interesting one. And look, before we get on to the games, and we'll have to probably quickly fly through today if we want to fit into our questions. The quiz that we've not even announced, there's a quiz coming at the end. We're going to have David against Div once more.
Have you beat me last time, I think, no?
You absolutely hammered me in the scoreline, but in the last question I done you, I says all or nothing, and you.
That's right. That's right. And we'll come on to all that, so we'll have to fly over. But there's one last thing I want to talk about, and this conversation will come on in the podcast, in my own podcast, quite a lot from now to the end of the season as rumours and such come out. And I don't know how clued up you are on the situation, but apparently Celtic have identified their
Enzo
Maresca of Manchester City's second side.
You know he's now the third favourite for the Aberdeen job too.
Is he? Christ. Yep. Well, he is apparently been identified as one of the top targets, if not the top target, as he closes in on Manchester City's first ever Premier League 2 title. He's managing there just now. An interesting name, to say the least. A name that a lot of Celtic fans are now warming to. The idea, a guy that's obviously been at the Manchester City setup with Pep Guardiola for a long time. David, as we head into a rebuild here at Celtic, because I'll speak about it on my own channel and on my podcast more than I'll probably have to speak about it here. I'll let you come in here. What's your thoughts towards that? Is that a positive sign towards a rebuild, that they are willing to change direction, make things a bit interesting? They're not going for the standard bread and butter appointment that you would see.
It's the very much an indication that a sporting director is going to have a big part in what happens at Celtic. Celtic fans will love that because the name and everything about him couldn't be further different from Neil Lennon. It's just completely different. So,
well, you know, we had the Italian managers. They have this. They always have their thing for the old snout. Mystique. So they're switching from the snooze to the snout. You know, he's got to be chewing his fag butts at the end.
Sorry, won't he? Yeah. Listen, it's a bit out of the blue. I expect Celtic to go in that sort of direction in terms of bringing in more of a head coach than a traditional manager kind of thing. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know an awful lot about him. I did quite a bit of research this morning. He's certainly got he's been got an impressive CV, former Juventus player, of course.
2 UEFA Cups with Seville as well, winning at Hampden Park.
So he's obviously, and I like coaches like that who go about, they work in different countries, they go and learn their things, you know, because you've got to pick up these things, and it would be a big job, and you would be reliant on having someone with a bit of experience in the sort of backup team and the coaching staff, someone like Gerrard has and a Gary Mack at Rangers, and But it's an interesting one. Do they go and appoint him first, or is it like we get a sporting director?
I believe that in my eyes, the sporting director should come first. I think that's vital. I think,
but they don't seem to be making an awful lot of movement on that front. We heard a few names.
There's two names that are standouts, and interestingly, Enzo Maresca fits in with both those names. The two main names that we're hearing the shouts of are Fergal Harkin of Manchester City, and then Tognozzi of Juventus. And Maresca fits in alongside both of those. Yeah. One being at Manchester City, one being Italian at Juventus, his former club. So
listen, it's certainly exciting, and it's something I would absolutely love to see, because it's one of those that goes one way or the other, doesn't it? It's either completely unmitigated disaster, or they go and hit the ground running. And what I would love to see, I said it, I think, on my live when I was streaming yesterday, I would love Celtic to go and get a top coaching team to go and challenge Gerrard's team, because Gerrard's coaching team now are they're absolutely fantastic. And you go and get, I would have liked to have seen like Rodgers' peak Celtic team up against this Rangers team now, because it would have been an unbelievable battle. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if there's any more news on that front. It certainly would have the Daz absolutely raging, I think. But
of course,
Gordon Strachan's nowhere near that job, so I think they need to settle down.
With the celebrations ongoing, I don't know how much time you've spent in looking into who Celtic's next manager
Fuck all, I'd imagine.
I'd imagine you wouldn't give two tosses. But do you have any thoughts towards that so far? I mean, there's nothing there. I'd take everything with a pinch of salt. There's nothing to suggest that is got to be what happens. But any thoughts towards that? I mean, you're looking at a setup now which will closely resemble Rangers with having a sporting director. That seems to be the way forward in modern football. So any thoughts towards it as we see the kind of first steps now emerging of it and the next Celtic manager coming out?
Mate, I'm not going to lie. That was the first time I heard the name. I did hear whispers about Man City and one of their coaches potentially doing something, but I wasn't sure in which respect, if it was the manager or the sporting director. But it probably is a good model to go down. It's a more modern model to go down. And obviously I don't know the guy. I don't know how good he is.
Nobody knows much about him.
I don't know who you bring in with him. Surely that'll be important as well. But it's, as you said, there probably will be a rebuild for Celtic, and there was a lot of talk of Steve Clarke as well. I don't know if that'd be the right appointment for a rebuild. So obviously they're trying to go in another direction. Man City play the same way through all the academies and stuff. So I'd imagine he plays like a possession-based football and an attractive style of play. So
it's absolutely wild that see where it goes. That's the biggest compliment you can pay to how Rangers have done over the last year or two, is that now Celtic are looking at the way Rangers have set up on and off the pitch and going, we have to replicate that. That's probably the biggest compliment you could pay for Rangers. The Steve Clarke one's an interesting one. I think that's never going to happen. He's already said that he wants to try and take Scotland to the World Cup. He's basically ruled
himself out of it.
Yeah, he said he wants to take Scotland to the World Cup, so that kind of knackers that.
The thing is, as you've already mentioned, David, on a final point, the night and day complexion between the two. You're going for a manager who once came out and said he doesn't really believe in tactics, to someone who's apparently a very big tactician. So you're automatically looking at a night and day contrast in managers there, which is all we're looking for. Like I seen a tweet last night, and just to put it, it was perfectly said. Like, I couldn't care who it is, but it isn't Neil Lennon. So here we go. It's the furthest thing.
Get forward, John Collins.
Did you see him throwing his name out? No. Saying, did you see?
Everybody has, hasn't he?
He came out last night and said he thinks he would be the perfect fit for the sporting director.
Well, he'd be more fit than most of the fucking players, to be honest.
True. Depends what fit we're talking about there, doesn't it? What I will say about Man City, Ryan, is like they have the money to go out and just get the best of the best. So this guy isn't going to be a mug.
Oh no, of course not.
But let's say he comes in and he be a manager, just because he's coming in to be a senior manager and he's been a good coach, or like youth coach, doesn't necessarily mean he'll be a good manager. But at the end of the day, who's to say that he won't be? So Time will tell.
It's just the same as Gerrard, isn't it? We never knew if he was going to be a good manager or no, and it turns out he's been pretty decent. So it could go either way. It could be flop. It could be hit or miss. You never know what it's going to be. But we'll move on very quickly to touch over the weekend's results, both in the Premiership and. Well, we'll touch briefly on the Championship. I imagine David will be lined up with Adam at some point in the next week or so to do a bit of the Championship show. But we'll still dance over it, David, don't worry. And we'll quickly get Celtic and Rangers out the way, just so briefly, because we've already kind of alluded to both performances. We'll start with Rangers, 3-0 win, mark of champions. They've watched it. We both watched it live. We gave our thoughts and feelings at the time, so I'll give you the floor here, mate. It was just one of those performances. Again, it's just been the standard for Rangers all season. Go out, entertain, get the job done.
That's it. It was tunnel vision. They just came out, got the job done early, and that was it. St Mirren are obviously no winning games that convincingly, but they've been on an upwards trajectory for a while, and they're pushing for top six. Have they got top six? I don't know if
No,
that's been
but
confirmed.
it's still. I think if they win their next game, there's one game for a split.
Still thereabouts, so they're no mugs. Do you know what I mean? But Rangers went out and they just get the job done, didn't they? In the first 20 minutes, it was one of the more better performances since the turn of the year, and you could tell they just wanted to get that next victory. If you look at the Livingston game in contrast, that was maybe a wee bit more of a nervy affair. And when they got that goal and they celebrated the way they did versus Livingston, they knew it was done at that point. So it was just all about going back to Ibrox and expressing themselves to the best of their abilities. They've done that. There's a couple of good goals in there. Ryan Kent got another goal, whose numbers this season have vastly improved. Oh, and as you said earlier, David, he probably is a wee bit underappreciated still and can still improve too. So it was good to see. It was good to see.
The Levy, I was interested you touched on the Levy celebrations because I thought that was really interesting. Listen, we've all known I said we've known since October, but even at least for the last 2 months, it's been obvious Rangers were going to win the league. But the way they celebrated that winning goal against Livingston kind of made me go, oh my God, the players were actually still like, they weren't accepting that it was done yet. They were still, we've got to make sure it was done, because you could tell the celebrations after that goal that, they knew it was done at that point. And I thought they were just brilliant on the weekend. I think a few times I've watched them at home, they do better against teams that kind of come and try and have a bit of a go. Like St Mirren were trying to get forward, they were pressing, get good numbers forward. Dundee United have done similar at Ibrox as well, and Rangers have picked them apart. And I think that it's a perfect game for Rangers, really, and they were clinical. Kent's goal was a cracker, but I just thought that it was.
Everybody was saying I was a bit too excited when that ball went in the back of the net.
Celebrated that.
Chat. I didn't celebrate. I was just. I was no. Let's not paint me out here to be that guy.
The video evidence is still up there. The
video evidence is of me being pleasantly surprised at how good the finish is, not because I'm happy to see him score. Let's just be honest here, Dave. So we'll move on to Celtic and Dundee United. Pathetic from Celtic. Say that again, David.
Shite. Even the referee was out of order.
Look, there was not much to shout about this game, but once again, we'll touch on both sides. Dundee United had chances. Once again, Celtic showed that getting in behind this team is not hard.
The frightening thing was that it looked like Dundee United were going to be the one that won the game later on. That was the frightening thing.
Yeah, look, you wouldn't think that Celtic were 10 minutes away from losing the league title to their rivals. There was no fight. There was no desire. It was pathetic. And we're yet to see change from what we've seen all season. And to expect that from Kennedy in such a short space of time was, of course, a big ask. And I don't think any of us were setting the expectations that high. But once again, we were not expecting them to be as bad as this. Once again, it's one of those ones where 20 minutes of the game, we play incredibly well. The first 20 minutes took you right back to the Rodgers era, and then, after that, you're back to...
But I saw that, I've seen that sometimes from Celtic under 11 this season, where they start really fast.
That's exactly, nothing's changed. It's not good enough.
The problems are so deep-rooted that it doesn't matter what, John Kennedy does.
No, that's exactly what I'm aiming for, mate. That's exactly what I'm saying. Look, 20-minute spells seems to be the story of our season. The amount of match reviews I've done this season, I've sat down and I've went, 20 minutes was great. That has been the story of our season. We've not been able to expand that over the course of 90 minutes. The players aren't fit enough. They're not driven enough. There is deep-rooted issues that Celtic have seen in that performance. Dundee United will be kicking themselves that never took chances. And I'll tell you what, and Div, you pointed this out, Mark McNulty will be raging. He was not offside. And with that chance, you never know if he's going to go through and score. Yeah. It's a game Dundee United could have took 3 points.
Towards the end, as you say, David, Dundee United did start to kind of have the chances to probably win the game. And I think that was where you seen that last bit of confidence, if there was any left, in Celtic, just give over. That was it. And did they have a chance in the last 15, 20 minutes? I can't remember. Obviously, as you said, they were really good for 20 minutes. Seagrass made a number of saves. I think it's the most saves that he's made all year in any given game. Probably a record for any keeper.
They didn't make it hard for him right enough, because
exactly, that's what I was going to say though. For all the chances, there wasn't really any big standout saves, was there? No. He was just good enough, Seagrass, and he just kind of petered out after that. And then there was a 5 minutes added on. There was a 5 minutes added on and all went up though, David. And you're thinking, maybe that will give the Celtic players a lift, didn't he? So
no, not at all.
But the whole hit the shots, the keeper thing, I can't understand, right? Because see, when you're, Ali McCoy used to always say, when he was in on goal, he used to aim at the goalie. That was what he did, because chances are it would probably go either side, But is that, I can't put that down to confidence, surely. When you've had that many shots fuck me. I mean, these are good players still. They've still got good technique. It was just like, when your luck's not in, it's not in. And there's no belief.
Mate, it was as bad as we were. It was always going in that direction from every minute that passed by. You just knew it. And had no faith in us scoring because it just was one of those days. It was meant to be Rangers were going to win the title on Sunday.
For about the 55th minute, I was just thinking to myself, Celtic.
but
genuinely, honestly, for about that number's just ingrained in my mind.
Exactly, it's like you've got to tattooed.
About the 55th minute, I'm just sitting there like, why have Celtic not got another striker on the park? And yes,
no, fit enough, mate.
And then they bring on wee tea cake for 10 minutes.
That game versus Dundee United was screaming out for another striker. Screaming out for a striker.
And you know what pisses me off, right? Lee Griffiths is still nowhere near fit enough. Albion and Yeti, nowhere near fit enough, right? But see, every time I've watched Celtic this season and Griffiths has started, they've looked better than when he doesn't start. So I can't understand. Yeah, he's not fit enough, but they still look better when he starts for me than when he doesn't. And I really, I don't get it. Why don't
get it this year, mate. Don't get anything.
But like, why would you play Ryan Christie up front? Ryan Christie will run. He's got effort. He's got energy. He's probably one of the fittest players in that Celtic team. But he's been shit for ages now. He wasn't
up front. He wasn't up front at the weekend.
Well, okay, yeah, but he has been playing there.
Yeah.
He's just bang out of form. I know Griffiths isn't fit enough, but fuck me. If you want to score one of them chances, if Griffiths is on from the start, he probably takes one of them. Yeah. It's just bizarre. And that's why the Enzo Maresca thing excites me a little bit, because Celtic need to change everything. Everything needs to get changed. Like, there's so much change. There are like 4 or 5 in that squad that I would say, right, keep and get them in a team. Apart from, and 2 of them I think will go anyway, in Ayer and Edward. So they just need to overhaul everything. I think it'll take a good couple of seasons, but God, fuck me, we could talk about this for hours, as we have done for hours over the course of the season. But just finally on Dundee United, though, I think Mickey Mellon will be a little bit annoyed in that I didn't think we're very good for an hour. I know Celtic started well, we said that, but didn't think United were up to much. If you think at the first game at Tannadice there, United had a real good go against Celtic and looked from the start like they were bang up for it. It took them a while to get going. And that sums up their season, in that when they're at it, they seem like a real good side. But I think they've kind of flattered to deceive a little bit. I think more people expected them to be nailed on top 6, which is probably unfair for a newly promoted side. But yeah, I don't think it was great for them for a large part. But definitely a side who next season, with a couple of additions, will be wanting to be nailed on top 6, I would have thought.
Perfect. Right, we'll move on. Get very quickly, breeze through these last 4 games and then look over the championship scores very quickly. We'll start at St Johnstone beating Hibs. I mean, Hibs are just down and out, man, it seems. And Callum Davidson, the party keeps going. Nisbet's bang out of form, isn't he, David?
Well, it was his first start for ages, in fairness to him. But since the failed move to Birmingham, I really feel for him, because he's had a real tough time of it recently.
Yep. Since
that, well, before that, and then not getting the move has kind of knackered him a little bit. He was out of the team. You're talking about a guy, if you'd said to all of us in November, we'd have said, I'd imagine Wall would have said nailed on for the Euros.
I'd have said nailed on for fucking being in Celtic's team next year.
He's not. I don't think he'll go to the Euros now. I just think it's too far gone. Yep. You know what Steve Clarke's like in terms of loyalty to players. It was going to take a big performance from somebody to break into that squad. And he's now, for me, I don't think he'll do it, which upsets me, because I still think he's good enough, but he's not in any form. And Hibs, it's mental how Hibs will probably finish 3rd this year, but there is still serious discontent amongst the supporters there towards Jack Ross and that squad, which is mad. You look at the squad, you look at the signings they've made. It's a real good squad. It's mentally about teams in the Premiership this season who are having bad seasons.
Yeah.
You know, you look at down the league, it's actually the teams in the bottom. Like Aki's are having a good go. St Mirren having a good season. Levy have had a good season. But even then, some fans are getting a bit angsty towards Martindale now with the run they're on. It's a bit mad. And part of me wonders if the whole, because I'm seeing this in the Championship as well, do you think fans are maybe, because we're not in grounds, a little bit more angry at things that maybe wouldn't annoy them as much if they were there?
You could say so.
Because when you're there, you can have a good mood.
Hard to gauge.
Exactly. You're able to vent, aren't you, when you get
you
to
feel like you can influence a game when you're there, whereas we don't feel like we can.
You can't do it through fucking streams, can you?
Yeah.
Dev, St Johnstone didn't have many chances in the game, but they still go and get it done, and it's a testament to how good this Callum Davidson side are. You know, against better teams, they've pulled out results. It's ultimately what won them a cup, and they're going to keep going. And I don't see any sign of slowing down anytime soon with the way that things are going under Davidson. And that doesn't just mean till now.
What a squad they've got, by the way.
Not just from now till the end of the season. I mean, going forward from this season into next season, it's a team that can only get better.
It is. They're flying at the moment. Obviously, they had a wee rendezvous after the cup final, and they went and dropped points at Hamilton, who are doing all right themselves, but they bounced back, and they bounced back against Hibs, so very, very good for them. And as you said, I think they're going to just continue to get better. And And I like the progression of this St Johnstone side as well, because it's not been the case they've went on this run, such and such, and then they've maybe fell off or whatever. It just took time. So it was obviously something that they were working on, that the players were having to get used to. Somebody that I will say, obviously, I've been really impressed with is Rooney. The way he's come in and just kind of became one of the top men in that team. After McNamara went away, who was obviously a good player, he was a player that everybody thought was decent, and he returned back to Millwall, didn't he?
Yeah.
I just like the progression of this St Johnstone side, and I think you're right. Next season, we'll see what they're all about as well, and I'm excited to see how they do it, because see, sometimes watching St Johnstone this season as well, they play good stuff, and I like that about them too. They actually have a game plan, and that's something to look forward to. And if they can keep building on that and bring in other players, they could definitely next season push for that top six, and maybe
The thing about St Johnstone is, and Callum Davidson, we said that earlier, and you made a good point there. They can play some really nice stuff, but I actually think their sort of strongest part of the team is the defence. If you look at the players they've got in there, like Clark, Kerr, Rooney, Booth at left back, McNamara when he was there, Xander Clark's a great goalie. You know, Tommy Wright's teams, we always said they were strong and hard to beat. Callum Davidson's team at the back are fantastic. I mean, you look at the semi-final against Hibs, they won everything. I mean, Hibs couldn't land a glove on them. Livy couldn't get near them either. They're big physical guys, all at a good age too. And then you've got in front of that, like say, Ali McCann in midfield, good young player. Really Stevie May's been a bit of form this season. The boy Mel Hamid who's just come in, or I don't know how you say his name properly.
Witherspoon.
Exactly. So they've got such a nice balance to that team, and yeah, if they can go and add a couple more in an attacking area, they'll be looking for a good few years ahead of them. But yeah, good result for them.
Right, okay, move on. I made the joke in the live stream on Saturday that it was a very staunch day for goal scorers. Kyle Lafferty bagged 2 in a defeat to Ross County. Tommy Wright just can't get it clicking. You know, we all thought that he would be able to turn this around. We all thought that we'd maybe do it. Dev, it looks as though they're going to go down, huh?
It does, aye. It does. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Kelly.
Bye-bye, Kelly. It's just all went to shit, innit? They went for the more experienced, shall we say, manager, and it just hasn't clicked so far. And everybody thought when Tommy Wright came in, he would shoot up the back and he would get them not conceding as much goals. 3 goals to County.
Ross County, yeah.
3 goals to Ross County. And I'll touch on how good they've been as well.
And this
obviously up and down, right? But see, if you look at some of the victories that they've had, they've beat some of the top sides.
Exactly.
The criticism people were saying was, you need to do that against the team around you.
Exactly.
Kelly, so
that's exactly the point I was going to make. You know, Kilmarnock should be concerned because this is a county side who have struggled against teams in and around them. You know, they've done well at beating the bigger teams, but in and around them they've struggled, and then Kelly go out to concede 3 goals to them. That is a deep concern, and it wouldn't install me with a lot of faith. If I was Gordon Sawyers right now, I'd be ranting my head off. David, Ross County, John Hughes pick up another win. Feelings? Thoughts?
Yeah. Well done, Yogi. As he said, he's kind of covered everything. I mean, Tommy Wright, you thought, right, well, he'll make them difficult to beat. Fuck me. They're even easier to beat than they were beforehand. And it's mental because I still think they've got good players there, especially in an attacking sense. I like Kelty. Burke's obviously a good player. Kabamba's decent when he wants to be. But they just see him all over the place. There's no like structure to their team. Lafferty's getting 2 goals is a bonus for Tommy Wright, because if now he's hit the ground running. So if you're thinking, right, if we can somehow stop conceding goals, we've got Lafferty up front who can bag a few. That might be the difference, because I still think, for as much as I think they look a bit doomed now, the way the relegation battle's gone all season long, it's kind of hard to have said for sure that a team are going down. County, before Yogi came in, you probably would have said, but since he's come in, you know, they look like they're gonna push on.
Yep.
What I will say is, whoever finishes top of the playoffs, the championship, is not coming up this year. Because I actually think you've got some really decent sides in the bottom this year. Aki's to me look like a good side just now. Ross County a decent side. Motherwell a decent side. And Kelly, for all that are playing poorly just now. If you're a championship side, you don't want to play them. So it's going to be an interesting relegation battle. And for not having the title race we expected, we're going to have a really good race to the bottom.
Segueing into Motherwell, 3-1 win against Livy. You've already kind of touched on the whole Martindale thing, David. People getting a wee bit anxious, as you said, towards how they're playing at the moment. But a massive result for Graham Alexander once again, and that's what back-to-back wins now for Motherwell, and they find themselves in a position where they're now going to try and spearhead a bit of form towards the end of the season, which will see them comfortably stay up, David.
Yeah, and Graham Alexander's finally found a bit of a rhythm there. Listen, we've said it all season long. They've got a good squad there. and he's finally found a bit of rhythm for them. And I think he's going to be one that, if he can just keep him up this year, he'll go again next year. I look forward to seeing what team he builds at Motherwell. Another youngish kind of manager, exciting. So yeah, I think they'll stay up. Livy, and it's a tough one. I follow a couple of guys who work in the media team at Livy, and they were sort of tweeting the weekend, listen, we're in a bad run now, but Christ, if Livy finished top 6 with a national trophy, that is an unbelievable season for a club the size of Livingston. And I think people should maintain focus on that. And Martindale deserves. Listen, he had all the credit in the world for everything that he did positively, and rightly so, and he deserves that. And he is taking a bit of criticism just now, but you've also got to remember where he is and who he's managing. And listen, it's going to be a good season for Livy. Not a great result. I don't expect them to fall off a cliff. I think they will pick up a couple of results from now and in the season. But yeah, great for Motherwell.
And I know I've not really give you the chance to speak on it there, Div, but just to move us on, I'll let you have the chance to speak about the game of the weekend. Aberdeen 0, Hamilton 0, mate.
Jesus Christ. I think Aberdeen were just lucky that Dougie Emery wasn't playing, mate.
Aye,
no, I tell you, but on a serious note,
yeah.
they were lucky that fucking Bruce Anderson and Marius Ogkmpoe weren't playing, because Anderson couldn't play against his parent club. Ogkmpoe was injured. Those two were playing. That could be a really difficult afternoon for Aberdeen.
Well, we've kind of had the consequences of it now anyway, with Mcinnes being gone, so there's not really much to add to it. But a good result.
Bit of Hamilton news though.
For Brian Rice.
Aye, bit of Hamilton news. Hakeem Odoffin. You might have noticed him plays in midfield. He was actually playing at the back for Hamilton.
He is a centre-half.
Moved into midfield though recently, and he's been playing really, really well. Just signed another contract with Hamilton, which is big news for them, because there were lots of clubs above them in the league that were looking at him. So big news for Aki's there. But yeah, fair play to Big Chipper, because after the 8-0, was it 8-0 at Ibrox?
Yeah,
doomed. But he's turned it around yet again, and Hamilton more lives than a cat, and fair play to them.
I just won't go away. Anyway, we'll move on to Championship. And David, I'm just going to skim through every game very quickly and give the scores. And you can give me a brief, under 30 seconds reply to each game and each result. Because you'll be talking about, here we go, plug in the other show. If you want to keep up with the Championship, you want to hear more, you want to hear a lot more in-depth conversation, then the Championship show will be on with David and Adam Kennedy, Hearts fan, later this week. So, David, flying into it, let's start off. Let's go to the first game. And we may as well start with... Alloa 1, Inverness 1.
I didn't watch Championship this weekend. I'm fine weren't playing, so I don't care. No, I'm joking. Great result for Alloa. Innes Cameron scored again, but he also missed an open goal, which is a bit upsetting for him. Callie and Neil McCann are having a bit of a tough time. Not great for Callie.
Greenock Morton 0, Ayr United 2. Mark Kerr gone.
Two teams with no manager. And Ayr 1. Yeah, interesting. Cammy Smith got 2. Ayr's manager shout is going to be an interesting one. That's a job that I thought Shelley Kerr might be in for, but not really liked that.
I've seen, have you heard the Curtis Woodhouse?
Yeah, listen, he's never getting that job.
No.
He's never getting that job.
Who's Curtis Woodhouse?
Exactly, was my question.
He played in the Premier League, and then he became a boxer.
This is what you were
the
telling
level
me
he's
about,
managing at. The level he's managing at England just shows how much English people. It's like the 8th tier or something like that. And it just shows how much people down there undervalue the league. There's not a hope in hell he gets a United job.
I remember you tell me about this now. You were telling me.
But it was also so strange because he declared his interest on Twitter and just told everyone he'd applied for it.
I think because he's got a wee bit of following there, he wanted to make some noise and stuff like that.
By the way, it's the last thing I want from my manager at a football club is him having been active on social media, and it just always is going to end in disaster.
But he also has a boxer, so see if he does get the air job. All of the comments have been said here. We don't really mean.
Oh, of course. If he gets the air job,
supported him for the start.
Backer of young talent.
Oh yes.
But yeah,
Arbroath 2, Queen of the South 4. Queen of the South.
What a fucking mental game! 2-0 to Arbroath after half an hour and 3-2 to Queens at half time.
I tell you back, Queens.
Yeah, I know they've been unbelievable. To be fair,
you know what the mad thing is? See, when they were 2-0 down, I'm still sitting there going, "Don't sleep on them." But I didn't expect it to be 3-2 at half time. Wow.
Mental. What I will say is, anyone heard the Arbroath TV commentary from the weekend?
Oh, right. I've started listening, but I've turned it off.
So it's that mad commentator who I got earlier in the season, the Scott Jegg thing. But anyway, he was just screaming as Arbroath conceded. He was screaming at the linesman for the first one. He was like, "That was wheel off, man, wheel off." He kept saying "wheel off" instead of "well off." It was interesting. And then the second went in, he was like, "What the hell happened there?" Fucking brilliant.
It's like fan zone.
Honestly, it's sensational. But yeah.
And then, of course, as we said, a day for staunch goal scorers. Jason Cummings and Andy Halliday both scoring in the Hearts Dundee game. Christ almighty, everybody was joining in, and then Dapo scored as well. Everybody was fucking scoring. It was a right fucking kick in the homos for me. Hearts 2, Dundee 1. David, they're just getting to the end now, aren't they?
Yeah, the Hearts are going to stumble towards the finishing line and cross it. Dundee are still not great. Charlie Adam was missing again, which is a big miss for them. But yeah, they equalised towards the end. I thought they might have put a bit more pressure on them. I think Pete Herring got sent off and added time, but Dundee I don't think really looked like winning the game or getting back into the game. But yeah, Hearts are. It's a far cry from the Hearts team that smashed Dundee on the opening day. Let's put it that way.
Right, okay. Twitter questions time before we come on to the end of episode quiz. So, David, I'll let you fire away. I've had a kind of glance towards some of the questions today, and I understand.
I glanced.
Some of them, I glanced. I only fucking glanced. There's a few juicy ones in there regarding, of course, Rangers titles.
Right, well, this is a question I've asked before, but Hecky Cormac asks it. Now that Rangers can focus in the Europa League, how far can they go? I said they could go to the semi-finals. There you go.
It all depends on the draw, doesn't it?
The
management have says they wanted to go a step further, so quarterfinals would be seen as a success. What
you don't get the winner of the Granada and Molde game, then you're laughing.
Exactly, mate. But that's Prague.
Well, don't sleep on Granada. Do not sleep on Granada. They're a good side. One of their manager right now is one that's been highly touted by some selection of Celtic fans.
So are Rangers.
I know, but like I'm just saying, don't sleep on them. Granada have been overachieving for a good 2 or 3 years now.
See, once you get to this level as well, all the games are obviously going to be tough. So
yes, of course.
But final, win it.
I say I'm going quarterfinals. I think it does depend on the draw, and if Rangers do get a favourable draw, there is no stopping them going for the semi-finals or the final or whatever you want. But I'm just going to say quarterfinals because I think it is going to get tough. These teams aren't. No one is mugs. And I think saying that, hope for Granada, Molde, yes, of course, out of all the teams, you'd hope for them, but these are still good sides. Granada are a team who in the La Liga have been very, very good over the past few years. So that's my answer, quarterfinals.
Hold on, mate. I can't even hear you right now.
Can you hear it?
What's going on?
Do you know hear me now? No, we'll just kind of.
I can hear you.
Can you hear me now? Aye.
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now?
You can hear now. Right, aye. What I was going to say, question. So next one. Scott Doyle asks a very black and white question, and he wants a definitive answer. Who's currently the best player in the league by a mile? Is there anyone who's the best player in the league by a mile?
I think by a mile is.
I don't think there is one.
I think by a mile is always. I've always went out and said, Edouard's the best by a mile. But that's always been just speaking very passionately. I would still say that the best player in the league in my eyes is Edouard, and that's the reason he's getting linked with moves to Arsenal and Leicester. But this year we've seen players kick on at Rangers. Tavernier is up there for a shout.
I hate questions like this.
Yeah, Morelos is still up there as one of the best. If I was to give a definitive answer that I had to answer, I would be saying it's Edouard because he's the guy who's going to go to the very top out of everybody in this league. But there's talent everywhere, man.
Right. Well, let's fade it down a little bit more because I imagine this will be asked later on. Who do we think is going to get Player of the Year? I think it'll be Goldson.
I think it'll be Tav.
I think it'll be Tav.
See, I just think because of what Tav has done offensively as well as defensively, he'll take it. But to touch maybe back on the last question, I think if you just compare them to different positions, Connor Goldson in his position has been astonishing this year.
Yeah.
So he's in with a big shout for that. And
you know who we've not touched on to get? Just I know this is completely off topic, but I glanced. I glanced at Twitter there, and Joachim Löw is leaving Germany after the Euros. Bring him home, Celtic. Bring him home. That's it. Cops away, mate.
Picking his nose and sniffing his balls in the touchline.
No, man.
Go nicely. Go nicely.
Right, Sam McGill asks to Sharp Dev, who do you reckon will go in the summer for Rangers? Now, I got asked this on stream yesterday, and I said I don't think anyone will leave in the summer.
Not one player.
Really,
not one big player.
I hope none of the big dogs go, mate. And because of Champions League, the prospect of Champions League, I'd like to say that none of them will go.
Yeah,
I'm hoping so.
And to Ryan, well, I actually haven't read this question, but I'm going to ask it yet. Yeah, we've kind of covered all that. When do you think Celtic will next win the league title?
2022, mate.
Okay.
No, but look, it's a fucking hard question to ask to start. I don't even know who I'm next.
Exactly, but that makes it more fun.
For all I know, the next manager could be Moza again. He's been doing a job at Blackburn. So
Moza.
Tony Mowbray, mate. Moza.
You call him Moga, not
Moza. Oh, is it Moga? I thought it was Moza. Fucking whatever it is. But look, it depends. It's a long way to go, man. We're going to wait and see who gets.
I just wanted one word, but fair enough.
2022, mate. 2022.
Okay, 2024. Fuck it. What else have we got here? A lot of these questions are very much the same. Can Rangers win the Europa League? Christ. Top three. Oh, I like this question. Top three centre-backs in Scotland right now.
Wow.
Hollander, Goldson and Ayer. Not in order, just Hollander, Goldson and Ayer. That's the thing.
I'd agree with that.
I think it's pretty straightforward.
I'd go Goldson, Hollander, Balogun.
Yeah, you. You know,
Nah,
Big Iron.
Clean sheets don't lie, son. Clean sheets don't lie.
I think Highlander and Balogun have been very much a part of the success at the back of Rangers.
Yeah, but I think Ayer's better than Balogun.
Ayer probably has been a standout. Aye, I'll give him.
But everyone's raving about Ayer. He still had some amount of fucking mistakes leading to goals this season.
That's what I'm saying. So I don't know. It's hard.
Should Aberdeen look at Neil Lennon for next manager? No.
I would be shocked.
The Aberdeen does want Neil Lennon, by the way.
Very.
Did he? Aye.
Oh,
I would be absolutely stunned if he
then.
was anywhere near that job.
How can you moan? Oh, how can you moan about Derek McInnes but then want Neil Lennon?
I know, it's baffling. Absolutely
Similar.
baffling.
It's weird.
I'm trying to think about a lot of these questions.
Just looking on from here, David, that Motherwell Scottish Cup final poster's about to come tumbling down, man. I can just see it.
Yeah, it's been like that for a while. The place needs a bit of an uplift. Is Ryan heading down to George Square with flares to celebrate 25k?
Well, you know, I'll put out a tweet this afternoon and say, "Oh, there I go. That's me away. That's me away to George Square." Look, let's be realistic here. We will celebrate. We'll celebrate with Liverpool when they celebrate their title.
Nice. Okay, cool. We've answered pretty much. This is the one thing. Maybe we should do the questions first, because we always answer them.
Well, if you answer them first, then you get very messy.
I will ask one more, but I know for a fact that you don't want to answer it, Ryan. How many Rangers players get in the Celtic team?
That part was good the first 5 times we got asked.
We're still waiting the video.
Well,
Christ, do you want views? Fucking get that made tomorrow. Christ.
I think that my Celtic viewing majority would be very unhappy with that video.
Yeah, well,
very
right. I think that's pretty much wraps it up. Quiz.
Well, before we go into the quiz, I'll give you the opportunity to do so before we get into the fun part. Any last final thoughts that any of you want to bring across before we move on to the quiz? Dev, I'll start with you, mate.
No.
When you get here's a question I want to ask in 5
I've said all I've had to say, mate. I'm out of words.
Any paracetamol you popped this morning?
Full pack of Cocodamo down my gullet.
when you gonna get a 55 type thing on the background? We're waiting for there's going to be a big plaque to this season behind you there.
Was that? I've got a wee football card, but it's fell behind the fucking couching. Aye.
Have you got?
It's like a FIFA attribute card, but it's got some nice numbers on it.
Right, nice. Right, David, what about you? Any final thoughts you'd like to get across, mate?
No.
Thanks. You made that.
You getting it in, Ryan?
No, I just mate,
is that what it is?
as a courteous podcast host, I make it my aim on the end of every show, both here and the Celtic Defender, to allow the guests on Zoom. You know, I hate doing these in Zoom. I absolutely despise it because at least when you're in person, you get the chance to kind of and you get to jump in and you get to get your points across. But in Zoom, because of delays and everything else, and because I like to speak a lot, you don't really get that opportunity as easily. So I just like to make sure that come the end of the show, we give everybody the platform. By the way, what a shirt, eh? What a beautiful shirt. LA Galaxy number. Gorgeous.
Right, Mark.
Not for me, bro. No.
It's time. Fuck away. Right, anyway, it's time.
Can I take back the title? This is the big thing.
Right, so the quiz, the last time these two guys went up against each other, was it before the era when we were on there? We spoke about. David, you were winning. You were scalping Dev, in fact, but then you played for all or nothing. And the final question, which made Div walked away the champion. So
did Div not get a really easy Rangers question wrong that day?
No, he nearly did. He had to fight. He wanted to make sure he was right. Because it was Ali McCoy. Ali McCoy says,
listen, what I will say as well is I am hopeless at thinking under pressure.
Yes. When you're the quizzes really put you on the spot.
So, David, you're big favourite here, mate. Big favourite.
No, naturally.
Aye, so a big shout out to Matthew Duff, who supplied us with a few questions to add into questions that I've also found. So we could do it. Thank you, Matthew, mate. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll start off with the usual. We'll flip the coin to see who goes first. So Dev, since you are a guest today on the show, I'll let you once again pick heads or tails, mate.
I'll go with the Queen's head. Yep.
Oh, that's one way to celebrate.
Sorry, heads or tails? Let's see. What did you say there? What did you say there, David?
Ooh, Harry won't be happy with that.
What did you say?
Oh, nothing. Doesn't matter.
I want to know what you said. Anyway, the correct answer was heads. So, David, would you like to go first or second here?
I would like to go first.
You'd like to go first? Okay, then. Right, we'll get started. I might know what I said, but it's annoying me. Right. Okay, let's go. Question number 1 then. What goalkeeper has the record for the longest time without conceding a goal in the Scottish Premiership?
What, of all time or this year?
All time, mate. All time.
Easy.
Jesus Christ. How is it easy?
Because it's easy, mate.
Very easy. It's
Is
quite
it easy?
Quite recent.
McLaughlin.
No, the correct
I thought
answer.
he had a record.
You wouldn't be far off, actually.
The record was Fraser Forster with 1,215 minutes in the season 2013-14.
Get that fact checked for John McLaughlin.
So there you go.
I think it ended with a game up at Pittodrie, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it did. Okay, question number 2 then. And this comes to you, Mr. Buick, to take the lead here. Which ex-Scotland player has played in the Old Firm, Tyneside Derby, Tayside Derby, and the Merseyside Derby?
Oof, yeah, that's a cracker of a question.
That's a good question. Well done, Matthew. That was one of his.
What's Tayside? Dundee?
Tayside's Dundee, Tyneside's obviously the Tyne.
Christ almighty, that's a belter of a question.
That's a good question.
Oh my God.
That's a super scoreboard question.
It is a super. It's Hugh. Now we're going to Hugh Keevins for the halftime teaser.
Fucking hell. Listen, it would take me too long to think about it. We don't have enough time.
Right, go for a guess, mate.
Fuck knows. Honestly, don't have a clue. Hold on. No, he's not. God almighty.
He's thinking hard. Look at the eyes.
No, I can think of people who've played in like 2 of them.
Right, well, go on. Give a guess.
Well, like I've got 2 that like Davy Weir, Jermaine Defoe came in. They've played in 2. Kevin Thompson will probably have played in 2 because he played for Dundee. But again, he's not played for fucking Liverpool or Everton.
Did you say a Scottish international or just?
Oh, you said Scottish international, didn't you?
Scotland player has played in the Old Firm.
Oh, right, okay.
Tayside Derby and Merseyside Derby. Really good question. Really good, Matthew. Well done, son.
Oh man, I really.
The Merseyside one is the one that throws me big.
That should be the easiest indication as to who it is.
Really?
Yes, should be. I'll give you 10 seconds, Dave.
Give us a clue. Come on. For a big question like that.
I'll give you a clue. He's still very active with one of the teams he played for.
Gary Mack? No, he's
no.
Not
he never played.
Correct
answer. What a stupid question. He didn't even play in 2 of them. He only played in 1, I think.
Correct answer. Duncan Ferguson.
Oh, yeah.
That's the correct answer.
Big dunk.
Yeah, big dunk.
I'd have got that if I'd thought about it a bit longer.
Yes, okay, right. Div, back to you to take the lead. Which goalkeeper or what goalkeeper? What goalkeeper? I know it's another goalkeeper question for you. What goalkeeper has made the most saves so far in the 2020-21 season?
Oh,
wow.
Great question.
That's
Matthew again. Thank you very much, mate. Good questions here.
2 that come to mind for me.
Wow, that's hard. I'm going to go.
Well, certainly no Barkas.
I'm just going to go. Obviously, you would go towards the bottom, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Because he's fresh in my mind, I'll go Seagrass because he made a world record amount in 1 game.
Correct answer, mate. Correct answer. The correct answer is Benjamin Seagrass with 123 saves this season.
I'd have said Jack Annick. That was who was in my mind.
Okay, on to my questions now. Matthew gave 5, but I picked 3 of them because 2 of them I think we've maybe had before and or are just a bit too easy for my liking. So we'll move on to my questions now. David, on to you here to take the lead. Your second question.
No,
draw, mate.
Sorry, to draw.
Oh, no,
sorry. My apologies.
Which
football club played in the world's first football stadium to feature a dugout when it was first introduced by trainer Donald Coleman in the 1920s?
You're fucking at it.
Which Scottish Premiership football club was the first to play in a football stadium featuring a dugout? You're going with Rangers?
Yeah, why not?
Aberdeen.
What a fucking disgusting question
correct
that is.
answer. Sorry, mate. Sorry. Right, Dev, to go up 2-0, mate. To go up 2-0. Which football club played at Boghead Park for 121 years?
Why am I not getting the questions that I know?
Between 1879 and 2000.
Boghead Park.
Boghead Park.
Can I phone a friend?
Can you phone a friend? Hello, David.
Go on, David. What's your answer?
I'd have got 2 of his questions right. Dumbarton.
Dumbarton's correct. That's correct answer.
Mate, their stadiums had more names in it, hadn't it? But
yeah,
in recent times.
Yeah, that and St Mirren and Ross County like names.
Right, back to you, David. And we've kind of had this one before, but it can catch you off guard if you don't.
I need a bit of fucking luck.
because it's worded a bit differently. Only 2 Scottish players have ever played on the field in a winning team in the Champions League final. Who are they?
Andy Robertson
Right?
and
Played on the field.
On the field.
no, I can't remember. There's the two
They
that in
had
my
to
head
play. They
are-
couldn't be on the bench. They had to be on the park.
This is my answer yet, but the two at my head are Darren
some point,
Fletcher and
yeah.
Paul Lambert. But I can't remember Darren Fletcher playing in that final in 08, so I'm going to say Paul Lambert.
Correct, yes. Darren Fletcher was an unused substitute in 2008. Paul Lambert did play.
And then he got suspended, I think, one of them or not, didn't he?
I think so, aye. Right, okay. Class. What's the score then?
2-1.
2-1. Okay.
You.
Is it?
Yep,
Yeah.
so you have a chance here.
Is it?
And, right,
One
it's
each.
no, it's 2-1. You got Seagrass. No, it's one each, aye. Aye, it's one
Aye,
each,
fuck
aye.
him. It's only one each.
Aye,
Yeah.
one each.
I
Right.
should have just went with that there.
It's not an easy one. It's not an easy one. And it kind of it matches the difficulty of David's one about the players question with the derbies. So it does match the difficulty. Can you name the team that Scotland? So 1978 World Cup. Can you name the 3 teams in the group that Scotland were up against?
78 World Cup.
78 World Cup. Can you name the 3 teams that they played against? At the group stage.
The Argentine.
I wish I was doing like my research on this.
Come up when we win the World Cup because Scotland are the greatest football team.
There's a
Best
poster
World Cup
behind you. In
Really
fact, there's
think
one.
so?
There's one of the teams behind David.
David, say
Oh.
something so you go big screen.
There's a team up there. That's the Scotland lineup, but the team they're playing is up there also.
I can't see it.
78. So there would have been. There was a very famous goal scored that night, I think.
Right, is one Brazil? No.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, see,
Was- I'm pretty sure that was,
Czechoslovakia.
no, that's not
that
one.
was the night there was a
Japan.
very, very, very famous goal scored.
Gemmell's goal. Is that Archie Gemmell's goal? Aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
Honestly, I couldn't tell you, mate.
Well, the 3 teams. Do you want to have them a guess, David?
Well, Netherlands is one of them, but I don't know if
Yes.
it was that was the night Archie Gemmell scored the goal. I think it must have been.
Netherlands, yes.
After that, 78, was that the year that Zaire were in our group?
Zaire.
Yeah, was
No.
that not that year?
Who the fuck is Zaire?
A country from Africa. Well, the
Cameroon.
thing was, Scotland had to beat them 3-0 to qualify, and the president of the country said he was going to shoot the family members of their team if they didn't not win well.
Wow.
So it ended up being
Peru?
2-0 instead of 3.
Peru's an answer. Yes, Peru's one of them.
I don't know who the last one is.
And the last one is, I would never have got the last one in a million years. I could have maybe having the guess at Peru. Final team is Iran.
Oh, aye, they beat
That's
us.
the
Did they
final
not?
one.
Did they draw us?
No, Peru beat us.
Yeah, so the actual question asked for the result against each team. I thought that was a bit much, but
Oh,
so they beat the Netherlands, they lost to Peru, and they drew with Iran. That was
Yeah.
the
But
result.
genuinely, that year Scotland could have won the World Cup with that team. It was unbelievable that side. So
Yep.
good.
Right, okay. I mean, Kenny Dalglish alone, mate. Right, okay. Let's move on to question number 4 for you, David.
what?
4 for you, David. Ready?
Chance to take the lead.
It's a classic question, but what Scottish club has a 100% record in 4 games against
my God,
Barcelona?
Dundee
Against
That's too
Barcelona.
easy. I can't believe you left that in. Dundee United.
Dundee United. Correct. Well done, mate. Well, there's
I
been
feel a bit bad for Dev. That was too easy.
right. So you've took the lead there, 2-1.
I need to get this to. I need to
So
get
you
this
need
to
to
be
get
it.
this right. You've got to get this. Oh, and it's a Celtic question, mate. Oh, poor. There we go.
Congrats, David.
Who was made captain of Celtic at the start of the 1977 to 78 season after Kenny Dalglish went to Liverpool?
What the fuck?
70.
It's quite easy. In all honesty, it is quite easy if you know your history.
Fucking.
Just think famous Celtic players.
I'm thinking like Mick Stay and Tommy Burns. Is that one of them? No.
I'm not going to say if you're right.
Right,
One of
okay,
the-
I'll go.
One of the names you've just said was one of the ones I was thinking of.
I'll go Mick Stay.
What are you saying, David?
Burns, I
I
mean.
said Tommy Burns.
Nope, the correct answer is Danny McGrain.
Oh,
Danny
Danny McGrain.
That's what I
McGrain,
meant when I said
You
Mick
one of
Stay.
them this morning, Dev.
Do you ever take a day off? Right, finally, David, to kind of, I mean, you've won anyway.
Oh, nothing.
Oh, nothing, mate. You want to do it again?
Nah, you can have it. You know.
No.
Right, so first the answer again.
Yes.
Oh, he's
It's
got
one each in the last question. That's
See if it's our Rangers. Oh no, I need to get this to win anyway, don't I? So
No, you're up 2-1, mate.
okay. So fuck it all enough.
You got
Let's get
he
it.
got David got the Dundee United right,
and-
and then
Lambert.
aye. So all or nothing here. First to answer wins.
Yeah, see if it's a Rangers
Okay.
question. I'm a fucking
First
shit.
to answer wins.
I'll draw.
As of 2019, but it still extends. So as of 2021, in which year was the last time Scotland beat England?
1999.
Correct. David wins. It is
Don
1999.
Hutchinson goal at Wembley. Yes, please.
Yes, 1-0 European Championship qualifying playoff at Wembley.
And
That's
beat the
correct
second
answer.
leg. Scholes, he's got a cracker. Yeah.
And that's it. That's it all over. That's all she wrote. David
It should have
gets
been a cut a year ago if Stuart Armstrong didn't fuck it.
I know, aye. Should have been. Lads, that was good. I enjoyed that. Was a good wee quiz today. Thank you very much to Matthew who sent in some cracking questions. Did you want to hear Matthew's other two questions very quickly? So you can get a quick answer. I just thought they were too easy.
Right, okay. Hit me.
Right, very quick. Always just shout out an answer if you think you know it. When was the last time a team other than Celtic or Rangers won the top division in Scotland?
I always forget.
Oh, it was 30 odd year ago, wasn't it? Didn't it?
86 maybe.
85.
85.
85. And then the other one that he sent in 5 was which two Scottish clubs are referred to as the new firm?
Aberdeen.
Dundee
Dundee.
United.
Yes, I thought they were a bit too easy.
Aye, I got them.
So I took the ones out. But aye, thanks very much, lads. And that wraps it up. That brings out today's show, the special of Rangers Week. I'm glad it wasn't episode 55. I must admit, I'm very
What
glad.
episode is it?
52.
52, aye.
Oh.
Aye.
You'll need to get me on next year for episode 56.
At the rate we go, it will be
Aye, I
episode
know.
56 next year.
And the way we go, that'll be our fucking season predictions for next year.
Lads, thanks very much. If you are listening on Spotify, then make sure to share the podcast out with your friends and family. Get everybody listening. I hope you have enjoyed. If you're watching on YouTube, you know what to do. Make sure to hit like and subscribe, and also head over to
Hold on,
Sharpness.
Dev, have you made a return yet to YouTube?
No, mate, I was planning on doing it today. Obviously, I've
Right.
missed out in a lot. Like, I've still enjoyed myself, still been enjoying watching the football,
that's
but
the main thing.
obviously, I became a father,
Yes.
you know, so I've been dealing with that and everything that goes with that, so I've not had the time. So
Aye.
hopefully
play,
back
mate.
soon.
Fair play. But head over to Div's channel anyway. We'll drop a link in the description. Make sure to show your love for him and his new journey of being a father. Anyway.
He's in a vlog it. Like he's like fucking
I know, man.
Alex, you know?
Lads, thanks very much for joining me. Thanks everybody for listening. And we'll see you all next time.